So let's talk about the three biggest mistakes I see when expats are moving to Chiang Mai. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kat. I've been living in Chiang Mai since 2019. And in this channel, I share tips and recommendations for those who are also looking to move their life to Chiang Mai long term. And so the number one thing that I see is people underestimating the cost of living in Chiang Mai. So we all know how inexpensive and affordable Chiang Mai can be, but I think people don't realize that it can also be very expensive. I did a cost of living video and I shared that I spend around $1,000 per month for just my basic expenses, bills, rent, utility, things like that. But I have friends who are paying $1,000 for their rent and not 300. And so, depending on your lifestyle and what kind of things you're looking for, it can be very expensive to live in Chiang Mai. And I think people who are moving to Chiang Mai think, okay, yeah, I'll just figure it out when I get there, or I'll just live on my savings. And then when that runs out, I'll figure out what I'm going to do next. And while there's nothing wrong with that if you have the financial ability to do that, but I definitely think having financial stability to keep you grounded, I think, is really important. And number two is not having health insurance before you come to Chiang Mai. Like I said in my other video, you can get health insurance from a broker in Chiang Mai. That's what I did. I signed up when I was there because my other insurance had expired. But if you can do it before you move to Chiang Mai, I definitely recommend it just because if accidents happen or health issues come up, you're covered. Another thing is if let's say you drive a motorbike and you don't have a motorbike license, which is really important, but I'll say that for another video, your health insurance will most likely not cover you. And so little things like that, I think people overlook because they think, oh, yeah, it's so affordable. If something happens, I'll just pay out of pocket. And while you can do that for the majority of things, general checkups or, you're sick and things like that, for emergencies and big things that happen, it's really important to have it because I can't tell you the countless amount of people that I have seen, not only just motorbike accidents, but just things happening in general that they weren't prepared for and they didn't have health insurance coverage. And even though it is affordable, like a lot of things in Chiang Mai, it can rack up. And so I've seen people that are in $30,000 worth of debt because they got in an accident and they needed emergency surgery and then they needed physical therapy after. And just things like that are not always predictable. So obviously this might seem like a no-brainer, like, yeah, of course I want to get insurance, but you'd be really surprised how many people move without it. And there's affordable options too. It's not like you need to have the highest coverage for every single country. You can get one for just in Asia, for example. And in Chiang Mai, if you decide to do it there, that's fine too. Like I said, you can meet with a broker. They can give you your options. You can let them know what kind of coverage you're looking for, and they can walk you through that, no pressure. I did mine with CNX Insure, and I can put the link in the description for that, but they weren't pressuring me into, selecting the most expensive plan. They just were curious about what kind of coverage I was looking for, and I've been really happy with it. So something I highly recommend. That is also something that's really overlooked. And so another thing that is often overlooked is visa requirements. So obviously this is really tricky and things are changing so often in Thailand. I've been waiting for over a month for visa information. I'll share that in another video, but yeah, it can be really complicated if you don't do your research ahead of time. It's obviously pretty easy for the most part for Americans, for example, to come to Thailand on a tourist visa and then you can extend it. Right now, I think you can come on 60 days and then you can extend it for another 30. So that's 3 months. But after that, it gets kind of tricky. Border runs are not, I wouldn't recommend doing that if you want to stay long term. But education visas are honestly the easiest way to stay. There's also a destination Thailand visa that just came out, and I can share more about that in another video. But yeah, I think it's really important at least to just do the research to see what your options are. And if you can do the visa before you even get to Chiang Mai, that's usually possible for a lot of different, it depends what program, obviously, or what agency you're doing it through, but it's possible. So just doing your research and knowing what options are available, I think is really important so that you're not scrambling. You have documents ready. And that's actually another thing, like having documents from whether it's like, I mean, bank statements, you can probably download that from like your banking apps, but just having important documents like, I don't know, maybe a background check from your local city. I needed that actually when I was applying to one of the language schools. I think it was Chiang Mai University that asked me for that. I ended up being able to just do that in Chiang Mai at a local police station there. But yeah, little things like that that maybe, you don't think you'd ever need. Having documents like, I don't know, background checks or copies of your bachelor's degree or different things like that. Sometimes Thailand can be a little weird with like, we need the original copy of your bachelor's degree. which doesn't really make sense, but sometimes it happens. I've seen it happen. It actually happened with my one of the other language schools as well. Wanted original copies of everything, which was almost impossible. I ended up, figuring it out. But yeah, just being prepared and doing your research, you'll be fine. Okay, and the last one is underestimating burning season. Now, I've probably talked about this a lot in my videos, but I think people just really overlook it and they think, oh, it's probably not that bad. But like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's terrible. Like, for 3, 4 months out of the year, it's really terrible. And some people are like, oh, I don't feel it. Like, I'm fine. But I think the average person can feel it. We're usually like number one in the world. There's an app, I think it's called AQI. And so during that time of the year, I'm always checking because, like, I don't know, I just want to be able to breathe. And yeah, we're usually number one in the world. And I'm not just saying that. Like, you can go on Google and search Chiang Mai burning season. You can probably see a lot of like news reports on it. So it gets terrible. So I think not just overlooking it, but making sure that you plan ahead so that you're not suffering through that time if you can. I understand if you have a job or you don't have the financial means to travel during that time, but just preparing yourself, whether that's, getting air purifiers or researching which cafes and gyms have purifiers, or again, planning flights if you can to go down south for that time. Like I said, it's really overlooked, and a lot of people don't really think about it when they're coming to Chiang Mai. Some people are moving during that time. I even had one of my friends, it was like a mutual friend, and they reached out asking, like, oh, I'm planning to move in March. And I immediately told them, like, please don't. Like, come in May or June just to like save yourself. So yeah, obviously it's not the end of the world. I've been living in Chiang Mai for 5 years and I found ways around it, but I think it's just important to keep in mind and to, if you can, plan ahead. And so that's all I had for this video. I thought this would be super helpful because I think for me, these were a lot of things I didn't really think about. I mean, I was coming fresh out of grad school. I was just wanting to travel, honestly, and I didn't really think about a lot of these things. But yeah, if you're wanting to live there long term, I think doing these will prevent a lot of headache and stress in the future. So I hope it was helpful. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any future videos. And I'll see you next time. Bye.